Hi, I'm Mary Logsdon. Welcome to At Your Library. It's summer at your library, and we've got a lot happening here for adults, so please stick around, and I'll have some special guests with me to get you excited about participating in our Ames Public Library Adult Summer Reading Program. Well, thanks so much for being with me. As I told you today, I have some special guests. If you're a regular At Your Library viewer, you know that I always like to take this time to sit down with a library staff member and share some information with you about library programs or services or collections. Today we're going to touch on all three of those things, and I'm just so delighted that we're going to do so with three staff members from Information Services. We thought we'd try something new today and have a panel discussion, a group at your library, because we've got so much to talk about. So first of all, I would just like to introduce the three of you from Information Services Department. So if you folks come to the library and step up to the desk right in front of you to ask a question, you might find Emmeline, Anne, or Jan. So thanks for being here today. Part of what we really wanted to focus on today is our summer reading program. I think many people know that in the summer we have all kinds of activities for children and families. We do a great job of getting the word out about those activities. And actually, in addition to activities and programs and reading incentive for youth, we've got a lot going on for adults in the summer too. Anne, I see that you've brought with you, what is it? Our summer reading log?
This is the summer reading log for the summer reading program for adults. And our theme this year is Groundbreaking Reads. We have an interesting graphic here. We've got the groundbreaking, we've got a book, we've got something growing, and this kind of encompasses a lot of the themes that we're going to incorporate this summer in our programming and our displays. This is a simple program. You pick up one of these entry forms at any of the public desks. You can pick one up at in the youth department if you're back there with your children, of course at the information services desk, on the bookmobile.
Great.
You can even access this online through our website, and it's really simple. You just record the books that you've read, rate them 1 through 5. We just like to kind of know if you got a gem or a dud. It's interesting for us to see.
Yeah.
And then you drop them in to some flower pots we have at the library, and each flower pot is for a different one of our prizes, and we have some great prizes this summer for adults. We've partnered again with Stevens Auditorium, and they're very generous often for our reading programs, and they've given us tickets to 3 different performances. This year there's Masters of the Fiddle, the Estonian National Symphony Orchestra, and the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain, which sounds like great fun. We also have gift cards from Wheatsfield Co-op, Chocolaterie Stam, Cafe Diem, and Barnes & Noble.
Oh, great. So there are a lot of choices.
A lot of incentives to get to the library and read this summer.
Okay, so obviously the more you read, the greater your chances to win one of these.
Take home one of these good prizes, right?
Great. You mentioned that there'll also be an opportunity to submit an entry online. So will that be a link on our website then?
That's a link on our website, which Emmeline brought up for us, if she wants to tell us a little about that. If you want to explain what that is.
Just a fill-inable form, and you can keep track without having to actually bring in a slip of paper to us.
Okay. There's something else that we're going to be doing that's new this summer that's related to reading, and that's another program that Emmeline has recently brought to us. You want to tell us about that?
We're going to be introducing 3 for 3. You let us know about your last 3 books that you read and liked, and we'll tell you about 3 you should probably pick up.
Okay. And again, how would a person interact with us to let us know what they're interested
We're going
in?
to have this form available by the information desk and just pick one up. You can drop it back off at the desk and we'll email you with the 3 books, or we'll have a fill-in-able form online linked from our Reading Connections page.
And about how long should a person expect to wait before we can get those 3 recommendations back to them?
Just a couple days,
Couple
we're
days.
hoping.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Well, this is something new. I'd also like to mention that actually you're someone new. You're the newest member of our information services team, so I know that a lot of folks in the community have already come by to say hi, so it's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Jan, I noticed that in one of your recent library notes columns, which is something else that we do to help promote reading and collections and programs at the library, you picked up on this theme, the groundbreaking reads, and made some recommendations for folks in the community. And I wonder if you'd like to talk about one of them now.
Oh, yes.
Okay, great.
I have a variety of different types of books that have an earthy tie-in. Not if you are not a gardener, you might still be very interested in these because settings are gardens, but not necessarily do you need to know about fertilizers and planting plants.
Okay.
So, the first one I'd like to suggest is The Forbidden Garden by Kate Morton. And this is a story of a young child, preschooler, who is found wandering a dock in Australia, alone, unaccompanied. She only has with her a small suitcase and a book of fairy tales, which later will play a part in the story. And she is adopted by the dock keeper and his wife. And when she turns 21, is told the story of her arrival, which is a complete surprise to her. And she spends some more time trying to find out her origins. She does not, but after her death, her granddaughter undertakes a travel to England to find a place that has a forgotten, overgrown garden, and it's 100 years later, and she unravels the story of the mystery. So, a family tie kind of story.
Wonderful. You know, I love the garden theme, and we had a good time as a department trying to brainstorm what does groundbreaking reads mean to us in order to just have some fun with it. I know another idea that we had was that really groundbreaking also implies a debut novel, you know, something that is the first novel of a writer that's getting attention. I think, Anne, do you have a debut that you want to talk about?
Debut.
Great.
This is a thriller called 3 Graves Full by Jamie Mason. I don't have the book with me because it happens to be pretty popular right now. A lot of people have heard about this book now, and we have a small waiting list for it, but we'll get it too if you put your name down for it. It's kind of a quirky, offbeat story that really starts with an attention-grabbing scene. There's a widower, mild-mannered, kind of, nerdish sort of guy named Jamie Getty, and he has buried a man's body in the far reaches of his backyard. Well, it's a year later, and he thinks he's gotten away with this crime. Nobody's come after him. It hasn't appeared in the newspapers. So he's thinking, okay, my house and my yard's looking kind of shabby. I'm going to bring in some landscapers to clean up my yard, and they won't ever get back to that part where I buried the body. So in the process of cleaning up his yard, they find another grave. And it's not the one he created. It's right under a window of his house. And so this brings the police in to investigate. He's in panic mode because he knows he's got this other body buried in the back part of his yard. Well, the police find yet another grave, and it turns out that it was the previous homeowner's wife and her lover's bodies in these graves. So that's the setup. You get a real quirky cast of characters. You have Jamie, who you learn the motive for the murder, and the author actually makes him somewhat sympathetic. You feel, oh, this poor nerdish guy with no social skills, and he's had not a great life, and his in-laws hate him and all of this. So you really feel sympathy for this murder, and it's got a quirky cast of characters, a really smart dog who helps solve some of the crimes. It's just, I think, a really fun, well-done debut, which obviously a lot of people are tapping into and deciding to read.
And tell me again the title and the author.
The title is Three Graves Full.
Okay.
The author is Jamie Mason.
That sounds really like something that I want to put a hold on. Also, in the debut novel area, I think Emmeline had something that you wanted to share too.
Yeah. For another rather quirky one, The Rook by Daniel O'Malley, also a debut. He's an Australian author, but the book is set in England. The book starts with a woman finding herself in the middle of a park in the rain, surrounded by bodies wearing latex gloves. And she has no idea how she got there. She doesn't know her own name. She finds 2 letters in her pocket addressed to herself, and they explain how she got there and what her life was like. She finds out she's the executive of a group called the Shecky Group. It's a kind of supernatural intelligence agency tasked with keeping the UK safe from supernatural threats. She suffers from a kind of amnesia, and she uses the detailed explanations and instructions from the previous inhabitant of her body to try to hide that she's no longer the same person and to find out who tried to kill her in the first place. It has some really witty, dry humor and lots of action, and one of the best main characters I've read in a long time. It's probably one of the most original books I've also read in a long time.
Oh, okay. And so is it fantasy? Is it a fantasy?
A genre blended
novel. Okay, all right. It's one of those that's hard to put a label on.
Yes, it really is.
Great, great. And I see it's also one of Seth's picks.
Yes.
So our staff picks area right behind the information desk is a great place to go to get recommendations when you can't engage us in conversation. So super. So you and Seth recommend that book.
Exactly.
Okay, that's super. Jan, I know that you had a couple of other books also on the gardening theme. Is there another one that you want to share with us?
I will do so.
Sure.
This is the first in a series. It's called Flower Bed of State. It's a cozy mystery. It features Casey Calhoun, who is the organic gardener at the White House. So one of the most famous gardens in the country. And not only does she keep the vegetables plump and tasty and the lawns green and the flowers blooming, she also encounters some mysteries. And for example, there's the mystery of the body dumped in the dumpster, and she decides that not only can she do her gardening skills, she might dig up a few clues and feels confident that she could solve the mystery. She just has to be careful not to get planted herself. So a fun, light read for the summer, Flower Bed of State by Dorothy St. James. First in a series.
First in a series, and I imagine we have others of hers. Okay, that's great. I know the series are always really, really popular here. Something else that I know readers often ask us about are books that have received acclaim. Award-winning books are also groundbreaking in a way, so it's something that we thought we might share. Does anyone have an award-winning book in the pile?
I've got the Edgar Award winner for this year, 2013 Best Mystery Fiction.
Oh.
It's awarded by the Mystery Writers of America, and this year it went to Live by Night by Dennis Lehane.
Okay.
Lehane, you may have heard his name before. He's written a lot of popular books that have been made into movies. He wrote Shutter Island, Gone Baby Gone. And I just read this morning, actually, that Live by Night has been optioned to be a movie directed by Ben Affleck. And as you might know about Ben Affleck, a lot of his movies are set in Boston, and that's the setting of this book. It's set during Prohibition, and the main character is Joe Coughlin. He's a gangster, and he has chosen that line of work from a rather strange place. His father's a police officer and has been for forever, but he sees the corruption in police work. He doesn't really see much difference between being a gangster and being a police officer, but he works his way up through the ranks, and after a stint in prison, he ends up down in Florida during Prohibition, and it was the land grab and everything, and it was an exciting place to be. A lot of organized crime down there. He's runs a rum running organization, and he's becoming very wealthy and very powerful. He's a very intelligent, articulate kind of man who seems at odds with what he does. He doesn't like to use violence, but he will if he has to, and he can be brutal, and there's some rather graphic scenes in this book if you're at all sensitive to that. He ends up marrying a woman who's Cuban, so part of the action is set in Cuba. It really evokes a sense of the time and the place. You come away, it's a real character study of a very morally conflicted man. On the one hand, he wants to do good works through some charity things his wife's doing, and then he's going and running rum and essentially killing people. Obviously not a real light story, but it's a very good character study. It's a good historical fiction. It works well as crime fiction.
Okay.
He's an excellent writer. It's literary fiction. It's just a very layered kind of novel that is very good. I recommend it.
And that won the Edgar
Won the
Award.
Edgar Award
Okay.
for Best Mystery Fiction for
Super.
2013.
Thanks for that. I know another idea that we had for this summer, because of the concept of groundbreaking materials, was that we might also promote some of our films that we have here at the library. And I think, Jan, you were working on an award winning film list. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that for folks who want to take a break from the reading and then maybe watch some movies too this summer?
Yes, rest your eyes and use your ears a little bit, and maybe try another format. Here at the library, we do have many film lists that are suggestions for people, and we give a small synopsis of what the story's about and also tell you where to find it. So people pick these up often and work their way through a particular list, or they can pick and choose. A new idea that we had was to start a list of award-winning films. So we are in the process, it's nearing completion, so you can look for it fairly soon, of the award winners from the Golden Globes, from the Academy Awards, and from the Golden Palm Award, which is the best foreign film award issued from the Cannes Film Festival.
Okay.
So a variety of award winners, which the library owns and is willing to share with you, so folks can use that list as well for their viewing.
And I think it was going to, I don't know if you said this, was it going to be just over the last so many years of award?
At this
films?
point, it's
recent?
grown to a rather sizable document, and so we have chosen the last 10 years.
Last 10 years, okay.
Yes, so that would include Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, Best Film, Best Documentary, and Best Foreign Film, those kinds of areas. So pretty broad array.
Okay, well thanks.
Yes, you're welcome.
There's another set of recommended reads that we're going to be putting out this summer, read-alike bookmarks, and I know, Emily, you've been working on that with the help of other info services staff, so do you want to share a little bit about those?
Well, we created a variety of lists. I just brought a few, we have more than this, but we have gardening, Nordic mysteries, debut novels, dystopian fiction, and nonfiction that reads like fiction that I brought with me. They'll be available starting June 1st when we put out everything else that goes along with summer reading, and they'll just be over by the information desk. So pick one up and see if you find something you like on there.
All right, so that'll get you started, and maybe you'll just work your way through the list. Like Jan said, many people do that with our film lists. And I know since we've moved from our Douglas Avenue location to our temporary location, folks have asked us about our reading lists. They've missed them. So we're happy that in conjunction with the summer reading, we're bringing out some of the old favorites, but then we've got some new topics as well. Talking about the award winners, I think, Emily, did you have another award-winning book that you wanted to share?
This one, if I'm remembering correctly, is an Alex Award winner, which is an award for good books to introduce older teens to adult literature. It's called Aleph the Unseen by G. Willow Wilson. It's her first novel. She had written a memoir and some graphic novels before. And it's also part of our book club collection, one of our new additions to the book club collection. This story is about a young hacker in an unnamed Middle Eastern country named Aleph, and he writes a piece of software that can identify a person by their typing pattern. It's kind of like a fingerprint.
Oh, okay.
And this puts him on the radar of the Hand, who is the internet security officer for the state in which Aleph lives. And Aleph has also found himself in possession of a book called The 1001 Days, which it was written by the Jinn. And he goes on the run because the Hand also wants this book. And so it's him trying to save himself and his friends from this kind of crazy internet security officer.
Okay, all right. And where is the book located? Is it in the book club collection?
Yes.
Is it in young adult or is it in adult?
It's an adult.
It's in the adult book. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great. All right. So now with the book club collection, what's special about that area?
Well, we have a number of copies, at least 10, of all of the titles in that collection so that book clubs can get their hands on all of the copies so they can have a discussion.
And I think all of us have observed that also turns out to be an area that is just great for readers' services, folks who are just looking for a good read as an individual. You don't have to be a part of a group to browse and check out the books, and so frequently they do go out. And that's one that I know, again, has also been on the staff picks shelf, so I know that it's gotten some wide readership. So that's great. Each of you, I think maybe we have time for one more book. Do you have something else that you wanted to talk about, Anne?
I have another debut, again, a suspense novel. This is the area that I like to read in. It's called Cover of Snow, which I know we all had enough snow during the winter, but it does a terrific job of talking about being cold and in a snowy place. It's by Jenny Milkman. It's a really complex story, and like I said, it has a really impressive sense of place. It's the story of Nora Hamilton. She's a city girl who marries a guy who's a police officer in a small town in upstate New York in the Adirondacks. So she goes to live with him in his community. She's pretty happy there. She's restoring houses. She's found something that she likes to do, but she's just absolutely blindsided when she discovers her husband's body hanging in their house. He's apparently committed suicide, although she's having a hard time believing. She thought they were happy. She, can see no reason why this would have happened. So she decides she's going to investigate, and she doesn't want to let it go. She's kind of obsessed by it, and her investigation stirs up a lot of animosity among his fellow officers, which she can't really understand. She thought that they would want to figure out what happened and that why are they believing that he would commit suicide. And her mother-in-law, who she has never particularly gotten along with, is not behind her in trying to find out what happened. So she's beginning to feel the effects of this very closed community that doesn't want to talk to her. There's obviously a lot of secrets in this town. And she finds an ally in a newspaper reporter who is in town, and he's doing a story on the local concrete plant where obviously there's some corruption and underhanded dealing. So these things kind of all come together. But it's extremely suspenseful. It's one of those page turners where you're sort of anxious, like, do I want to know what happens next? Yes, and it's hard to put down, and the sense of menace and cold and the descriptions of the cold, and you can just feel it, and it's nice now to walk out. This would be a good book to read in the summer because you're not going to be feeling the same thing. I read it in the winter, so it was just more piling on with our winter this year, but it's it's an excellent read. And again, I don't have the book. It's fairly popular. It's got a small waiting list, but working through it quickly. So.
And that's a debut?
That's a debut also.
Great. Jan, do you have another book that is garden related?
Always another book.
Always another book. We are surrounded by books.
Yes. I would like to share Alice Hoffman's The Red Garden, and it is a book of series of stories contained within one overriding novel. And it talks, it starts with Hallie Brady, who founds a small town in Massachusetts called Blackwell, ominous name. The first winter that she and the other settlers are living there is very cold and snowy. Sorry about that, but it becomes a little cold for part of the book. And people are starving. Hallie steals her husband's gun, goes out into the wilderness surrounding this small community, and hunts and brings home food for the other residents. When these activities are discovered and curtailed, she retreats to the wilderness where she meets a bear and spends some evenings in a bear cave. And it's a very mystical realism sort of series of stories, and all tied together by a red garden in which all the plants are red. And this story and the other stories all involve a woman who, for some reason, wants to leave Blackwell. And it's a whole variety of stories covering 300 years. And all tied together, though none of the people, the main characters in the stories, know that their story is impacting another one that will come or follow. So a very interesting kind of dreamlike quality to this book, and Alice Hoffman's a wonderful writer. So it was just very different. Yeah.
I am coming away with all kinds of ideas of books that I think I want to put on my hold list. I think, Emmeline, you have one more too that you want to share?
Yeah.
And this is a new book?
Yes, it is still on the new shelf. It's called Mr. Penumbras 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. And it's more literary than my other two picks, but it's still not quite something that could really happen.
Okay.
But it is much more realistic. Okay. It's about a young man named Clay Janin, and he is a web designer. He finds himself out of work during the Great Recession, and he finds a new position at Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore as the night clerk. He quickly realizes that things are a little odd at Mr. Penumbra's, other than the name. And all of the customers to the store are repeats. They never have just someone walk in and start browsing and buying a book. And these people are all just a little off in the way they dress and the way they interact with people. And they don't buy anything. They bring a book back and they get a new book. And he decides to try and figure out if there's a pattern to which books they're getting their hands on and that sort of thing. And so he creates a program, a computer program, and uses some log books that the store has to enter all of the information about the checkouts of the books that are in this special section of the store that he calls the way back stacks. And he, when he figures out that there is a pattern to the way that these books are going out, he decides to enlist his friends to help him solve this mystery that this secret society has been trying to solve for hundreds of years.
Okay. That's, I mean, you've got, there's like a hook on each one of these books that I think I would love to spend some time participating in the summer reading program myself and reading along. Please, folks out in the community, if you want to learn more about these books or if you want some other recommendations, Jan and Ann and Emmeline and other members of the information services staff are available and ready to chat with you about the kind of books you like and to give you some ideas of additional reading. I want to remind you that we're going to be starting the summer reading program on June 1st, and it will go, I believe, through the entire summer, August 31st. So just read for the fun of it, read to just share what you like, and actually, if you want to also check out our Facebook page, I imagine there might be some conversation happening there this summer as well concerning summer reading. Is there anything else that we intended to chat about and that you think we missed? Did we hit all of it?
I think we got it all.
Okay, if you have any questions, please do come into the library. Give us a call at the information desk. Check our website. Thank you, all three of you, for coming. This was a lot of fun. I think we should do it more often because it's just great to take the time to talk about reading here at Ames Public Library. Please stay tuned. We're going to feature just a few of our new arrivals here at the library. Thanks so much for being with me today. This was a special episode of At Your Library where we had a chance to speak with several of the library staff members here who will be happy to help you this summer choose some library books to read, films to watch, music to listen to. When you're not doing those things, though, if you'd like to join us at some of our library programs, we've got a wonderful slate of activities in June. And as always, please check page 1 or the library website for details about library programs. We do have several, again, picking up on our summer reading theme of groundbreaking reads. We are going to feature an author program. Benjamin Percy on June 9th is going to be here after hours talking about his most recent release, Red Moon. On June 15th, we're going to have two specialists from Iowa State University's Plant and Insect Diagnostic Clinic talking about why my garden won't grow. So please stop in to learn a little bit about your plants and gardening this summer. And also on June 18th in the evening, Kathy Sveck of Ames Historical Society is going to be offering a program, The Library Story, from Grocery Shelf to Gigabytes. So she'll be talking about our story, the community story, the library story, and we are going to hold that actually at the Octagon down in our neighborhood, where there's quite a bit of groundbreaking occurring. So those are just 3 of the special activities that are happening in June, in addition to all the other recurring programs. So I do hope that you will take the time to stop in the library, come to a library program, read, and one last reminder, we will be kicking off our Bookends in the Bandshell, our wonderful free music series in June, the last weekend in June, on Friday the 28th over the noon hour, and then also on Sunday, June 30th in the evening. So Bookends in the Bandshell begins at the end of the month. Please do join us, stop by and ask if you have any questions. Once again, this is Mary Logsdon at your library.